This video is to explain how I read and interpret a credit report when making a decision whether to rent to someone. The format for this credit report is from Experian, and it's the old format report, so it's a little tougher to read than the newer format. Any report that you receive may not look like this at all. The letters and the numbers are there for educational purposes only. The name of the applicant is right here. When I request a credit report, I give the name, birth date, social security number, and current address of the applicant. That will verify to the credit bureau that they're sending the proper file to me. Their most recent address appears right below their name, and some older addresses appear below that. Be sure to check with the property owner or landlord of all of those properties to see what kind of tenant the applicant was, particularly if those addresses do not appear on your application. Look for the numbers next to Social Security and date of birth. I like to see only one number next to each of those, and I like it to match the number that's on the application. If there's multiple numbers, it could indicate fraud. Either the applicant gave out false Social Security numbers or someone else did. The column on the right is for employment. I check with all current and previous employers to verify their current income and what kind of employee they were. Down below there are some sections. Demographics and Fraud Shield Summary. Those sections usually do not appear on the reports that I get. On the second page is a profile summary. This can be useful to give you an overview of the credit report. Notice the two delinquent or derogatory accounts and the current past due amount of $3,600. Since I read the report in detail, the summary is usually not necessary, but it can be useful. This section will give the applicant's credit score. Sometimes I found an applicant with a poor credit score can actually end up being a better tenant. They may have had financial difficulty in the past, but they may be paying their bills recently. Whereas someone with a high credit score may have a very short credit history. They may be current on everything, but they may have not established a good track record when paying rent. So it's only one factor you can use when deciding whether you rent to someone. The section called Public Records is where liens will appear or judgments. Just because there are no entries on a credit report doesn't mean that applicant doesn't have liens or judgments. They just may not be reported to the credit bureau, so be sure to independently check those out. The third page is the page with accounts or trades or trade lines. It's the most complicated section and the section I spend the most time on. If you notice in this area there are a bunch of titles or headings. Each of those words correspond to numbers down below each of the accounts. For instance, past due means that this account has a past due balance of $1,590. In the fourth column you can see this account is currently in collections. There can be some information about the account in this area, in this case an old medical bill. There are several pages of accounts, and I keep track of each one, noting whether it's current, in which case I deduct it from their net pay to calculate how much money they have available to pay rent. Or I note that if it's derogatory. If it is, and they choose to start paying in the future, it could affect their ability to pay rent. Or whether the account is closed, in which case it really doesn't factor into my decision. You can see on this account that it was delinquent 30 days at one point, signified by the 1, and then the other months that the account has been tracked, it's been current. This account was late 60 days, 4+ times, indicated by the 2s. The third page contains some additional accounts. In this case, these are all current. Down below there's a section called Inquiries. This lists any companies that have checked the applicant's credit in the past. If there's a lot of inquiries in the recent past, it could indicate that the individual is applying for a bunch of credit and could affect the amount of money they have each month to pay the rent. If they have a lot of applications, it could also mean they've been turned down frequently. At the bottom of this page, you'll see a message. You can see a message been sent to the credit bureau from the applicant indicating that some fraud had occurred in the past. So you definitely want to check that out and ask the applicant if you have any questions about anything that appears on their credit report. I'm in no way connected with any credit reporting agency. I'm simply a landlord who has reviewed many credit reports and used that information in my business.